This is Jack Moelmann, and we're speaking today from my home in O'Fallon, Illinois, which is near St. Louis. It's July 14th, 2011, and with us is a guy that's been around doing quite a bit of music and other activities. Name's Brett Valliant. Just a week or so ago, he was in Providence, Rhode Island area for the ATOS annual convention. So welcome, Brett.
Thank you.
And live in Wichita.
Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas.
Born and raised.
And the big thrill in Wichita is the organ that they have there?
Yes, Wichita is certainly very well known for the former New York Paramount Wurlitzer organ installed in our Civic Center downtown.
Well, how did you get started in music?
Well, when I was about 2.5 years old, my parents had me in church, and we had a great big pipe organ, and at the church we attended, and I stood up on the church pew and announced to the entire church that I was going to play the organ. And that's really all I've ever focused on doing in my lifetime.
You started lessons when you were how old?
I started piano lessons when I was 4 years old, and I started organ lessons when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I think.
But at it ever since?
Been at it ever since.
Well, now you started out with classical piano and classical organ.
I did. I marched into my piano teacher when I was 4 years old, and I told her that I wanted to play the organ, but that they made me go there first. And so I started learning classical piano and then later classical organ.
Well, how did you get in theater organ?
Well, it wasn't until I was 15 years old, and my classical organ teachers had told me less than desirable things about theater organs, and so I was drugged somewhat against my will to hear the Wurlitzer in Wichita for a silent film. Lee Irwin was playing. It was one of his last performances. He was in his mid-90s by then, and went, and within the first 10 seconds I was absolutely amazed at what I was hearing.
Now, how old were you then?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Well, how old are you now?
30 years old. I turned 30 years old a month ago.
So that was a reasonable time, 15 years you've been at it, and you became the organist in residence at the same place, right?
That's correct. When I was about 20 years old or so, became the artist in residence.
And you did that for how long?
About 10 years.
So is music, that's your life's work? I mean,
Yes.
You're not into much anything else?
Nope, it's the only thing I know how to do.
And you do it very well.
Yes.
Uh,
I am a licensed mortician, but that's not my day-to-day practice.
Well, that may call on you sometime if we, a licensed mortician. There aren't too many of those in the ATOS, I don't think. You've played around a lot on the organ, concerts and all. What would you think is the most exciting one that you've ever done in terms of, the venue, the organ, how you played, the audience? One that stands out as the great thing you'd love to do over again?
Well, I don't think I could pick any one. I don't think I could. I would say that playing the Wanamaker organ was very much a thrill, filling in for Peter Conti there, or perhaps playing at the San Filippo residence was a great thrill. Or I think it's maybe just in terms of energy, one of the performances sticks out in my mind that I did in Wichita on the concert series for the Wichita Wurlitzer in, I believe, 2006.
Well, I always like to ask the extreme now. What is the one that you never want to repeat, that you remember as something going wrong with the organ, the program, the venue, the audience? Do you have anything like that?
The worst, you mean?
If you want to put it that way.
I think...
that you'd never want to go back and do over again.
Yeah. I believe, and without naming the venue, although I wouldn't mind naming the venue really, but there was a certain community college in Iowa with a Rogers organ that was underpowered, under-speakered, under everything.
Rogers Trio
Could have been.
at 321, where they changed the speaker complement up in the top. I've been there.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But not only because of the instrument, but because of any number of other factors, that was by far the most challenging experience I've ever had.
Blind Pistons, as I recall.
Oh, yes.
But you always had to play something from Music Man.
Yeah.
That's hints. Well, what would you look forward to? Someplace you haven't played. What would be on your list of someplace before you leave this earth that you'd want to play, or maybe a couple of them that you haven't played in?
Well, I've never played the organ that I've always heard so much about in Berkeley. Looks just to be a first-rate instrument. I've never played there. Well, that's one. That's one. I'm sure I could come up with half a dozen that I would love to play that I never have.
Well, that is a good one.
Yeah.
What would you say to aspiring young people, or even aspiring old people that want to get into, I don't know whether you want to call it a business or a hobby, but get into music, and in particular the organ, and in particular the theater organ? How would you leave a message with those folks?
In particular, the theater organ, I would say this. At a glance, someone could say perhaps that there is not a great need for theater organists, and will not be a great need in the future, as the theater organ in its original necessity was so many years ago, back in the 20s and into the 30s. But I can say, and especially after having just been with you in Providence, Rhode Island, that there will always be a following for the instrument, and there will always be room for the art to be practiced and to be even taken to the next level. If you look at the way organists are playing today versus the way they were playing 50 years ago or 80 years ago, I mean, there's always new ideas and new practices coming along, and every new organist that comes along has their own take on it. And so I would encourage anyone who has the interest and talent to pursue it. It's a lot of work, but it's very, very rewarding. Of everything I do, whether it's playing a classical organ in a concert hall, or playing a classical organ on a Sunday morning, or playing a theater organ in a theater or in a home, nothing feeds my soul like playing a theater organ. So.
That's good. Well, we appreciate you taking time out. You just stopped by the house this afternoon. We captured you for this short video. Now we're going down to the Fox Theater and let you see how that is without air conditioning. But anyway, thank you, Brett, for coming by and giving us your thoughts. And today is July 14th, 2011. Jack Moelmann and Brett Valliant signing off.
Thank you.